Kristy Towson. I am the founder of Inner Strength Writing Solutions.
Can you tell me a little bit about your own mental health journey?
Yeah, it's kind of complicated. I up until maybe like 2014 had never had any experiences with mental illness. And then I had a life traumatic experience and everything changed. I went from being depressed to severely depressed to being suicidal. So much so that I burnt my house down with me in it, trying to die because I was just so sad. And if you know anything about the law, you know that you can't burn your house down and not be arrested. So I was arrested from that experience. But if I'm honest, Michael, that probably was the best thing that ever happened to me back then because I needed that wake up call. I needed to hit rock bottom. I needed to know that there was some hope, a beacon of hope somewhere out there. And jail just kind of was my cooling board, if you will, to allow me to just regroup and get my thoughts together, come up with a plan to get myself out of the situation that I was in.
So, from that, what made you decide to help others with mental health issues?
What I went through was so traumatic. Like I said, burning your house down, that is a huge indication that someone is just not happy. And once I was able to overcome that situation that I went through, I didn't want anyone that I knew of to experience that same type of pain or sorrow. And so I decided to write a book. And that book is called Speak Up Against Stigma. Myself and 11 other women around the world, we tell our stories about what we've gone through in life just to help someone else cope better, give them hope, and to let them know that, they're not alone.
Yeah, what was that process like hearing all these stories?
It was actually liberating. So I was writing my own full-length memoir about my own story, and I found writing to be lonely. I found it to be isolating. It was just really lonely. And I struggled with structure. I struggled with my tone. I struggled with all sorts of things that writers go through, being insecure with my own writing. And so I found that writing a short version of my story in a personal essay was easier and more digestible for me to write and read. And so I had the idea that maybe if I'm struggling with writing a book about my mental health journey, maybe there are other people out there who are having the same experience. And so I just put out a query on Facebook to see, if there was any interest in people really just helping me come up with a book idea and to share their stories. And over 200 women raised their hand to say that they were interested in more information. The amount of essays that I received was a bit overwhelming at first because it's just me. I'm a solo team. And to be able to decipher and go through all of those essays that were submitted, it was good. It kind of let me know that I was onto something. And reading the stories, I felt less alone because these women have gone through, like traumatic stories or experiences themselves. And to write about it creatively, not just in like a brain dump, but creatively, to reach the reader so that the reader also feels less alone in their journey.
Yeah, how important is it to have a support system when going through mental health issues?
Oh my gosh, it's very important because, like I mentioned earlier, When you're on this journey, you feel alone and you feel as if no one is there with you. And to be able to build a support system is crucial. Now, for me, what I did was I created my own system because I didn't have like any friends or family that I could go to that understood mental health. So I found me a dream therapist where I can unload everything that I was feeling or thinking and who could get me on the right track. I also found a physical doctor who understood mental health, who could, prescribe medication, and things like that. Because I think that that is an important part of the journey is getting medicated so that you can have a fruitful life.
How has creating the book helped your own healing process?
It's giving me hope. It's giving me something bigger than myself to focus on and to concentrate on. It's just not about me getting my story out there. It's about sharing all of the stories because they're all equally important. And it's no sense in writing a book and doing all this hard work for no one to read it. So I'm charged with the task of getting the word out there, which is why I'm talking to you and, spreading the message that people don't have to be alone in this journey. There are so many people who are out there who are going through mental health challenges and they feel all alone in their struggles. And oftentimes, when you feel alone, you isolate even more because you feel like no one understands what you're going through and how you're feeling. But the good part about it is if you create your own dream team that consists of a therapist, someone who can prescribe medication, and a good physician that understands mental health, you can put yourself on the right track. I'm not going to say quickly, but it's definitely easier than doing it on your own.
Yeah, for me, I live with bipolar disorder too, and I wasn't diagnosed till I was 37. And a lot of that was due to stigma and not knowing what's going on and all that. But how important is it for someone to, with live experience, to get their story out so people don't have to wait till they're 37?
Yeah, it's really important because I'm actually doing a report now on stigma and storytelling to see what the impact of sharing stories is. And there's quite a lot of research out there that supports storytelling in the realm of reducing stigma. Now, in terms of telling your story, everyone is different. My path was to write about it. Some people may want to speak about it. Others, they draw about it, paint about it, like there's so many different ways that you can relieve yourself in telling your story. And I just encourage anyone who has a story to tell to share it because you never know what someone else is going through, and you never know what your story can do to help someone else.
How does it feel for you to be helping others?
It feels incredible. I feel like I'm in my season. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 16 years old, so this is nothing new for me. But I've never felt as fulfilled and as on purpose as I do now because I see the impact of sharing stories and what it actually does for people who are hurting and feeling isolated and alone in this season.
What is it like being your own boss?
It's a challenge because in addition to having, I have bipolar, borderline personality disorder, ADHD. I just found out over the summer that I have autism. So I have a lot of alphabets going on, and Sometimes those personalities get in the way of me being productive. And so I just have to remind myself what the big picture is. And the big picture is helping other people. And if I'm so focused on my own mess, or just a lack of being able to focus or concentrate, that's not the big picture. And so I just have to use my big muscles and push through that, so that the work can get done.
What do you do to help your own mental health?
Journaling has been the best thing for me. Writing creatively is one thing, but that's for other people's eyes. When I sit down with pen and paper or even my keyboard and I begin to just express myself, I can tell you that it has been a game changer for me because before writing, I used to keep all of my thoughts and my feelings in my head, and they had no place to escape. But writing, it frees me in a way that it allows more room in my mind, and also in my heart to be able to have a bigger capacity for other people.
What would you say to anyone going through a tough time?
Don't give up, no matter what. Don't give up. There are lots of different voices that's probably in your head telling you that you're not worthy, that you're not good enough, that you have this condition that, you can't overcome. But I'm here to tell you, I live a very good life. But I didn't realize that when I was going through what I was going through, I had to heal. I had to do the work. I had to fight, to get to this place that I am in today. And it wasn't easy, but it's so worth it. So I would challenge anyone, if they are having a hard time and those voices in your head are so negative that you can't stand it, to get a pen and paper and to just start to write and release yourself, of all of those negative thoughts. And studies show that after 15 or 20 minutes of writing, that your mood shifts and you begin to feel better. Your perception of what was so horrific 15, 20 minutes ago is not as impacting on your emotional state. And so I would just challenge anyone to try to journal, try to write something. It doesn't have to make sense. The spelling doesn't need to be accurate. You don't have to worry about, commas and things like that. You can just write, just pour your heart out.
Well, I think just talking to you and see you succeeding and the passion, it helps me who lives with lived experience, hearing other stories of people succeeding. And I think that's one of the biggest things for people with lived experiences to hear.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that because when you're going through it, you don't feel like anyone really understands what you're going through. And so you keep all of those thoughts to yourself because it's embarrassing. It's shameful to say, like, hey, I need help, or I don't understand what's going on with me today, or this year, or a month. But to be able to acknowledge that there are other people out there who are struggling, but who have made it, it gives hope to people who are trying to get to that place.
Where do you want to see your mission, say, in the next 3 to 5 years?
So my goal is to get the message out there about my book, Speak Up Against Stigma. Over the next, by 27, my goal is to have 100,000 books out there so that people can feel empowered to take their strength back, their power back, their life back, and start to reclaim their life to get the things that they hope to accomplish in life. It's not always about the things that are right before us. Sometimes we have to look at the big picture and see what is there for us and start to dream. Dream again. Dreaming was a big part of my recovery because when I was going through what I was going through, I felt so hopeless. I didn't see a future for me. But once I was able to heal myself and get the proper treatment that I needed, it was so much easier and so much better.
How can people reach out to you and learn more?
So I am Kristy Towson everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You can't miss me.